Good day. The topic we are treating today is proportion, and it's going to be basically on indirect proportion by Popola Monserrat. The objective of this video is to solve problem involving indirect proportion so that by the end of the lesson, you should be able to solve real life problems that lead to indirect proportion. So the topics you must have known before you can watch this video are reciprocal, direct proportion, division of numbers, how to cross multiply, and etc. So what is indirect proportion? What is it all about? In direct proportion, we were told that two quantities are in direct proportion if one quantity increases as the other increases and vice versa. But here, in indirect proportion, two quantities are in indirect proportion if one quantity increases as the other decreases and vice versa. And a perfect example of this is the speed and time of a particular car. If a car has a greater speed, it's going to take the car a lesser time to get to where it's going to. But if a car has a lesser speed, it's going to take a greater time to get to where it's going to. So that's what indirect proportion is all about. So in this video, we were to consider a driver that travels a certain distance of 240 kilometers. So the time and speed of that particular journey is shown in this table. The interpretation of the table is that if the car travels at a speed of 240 kilometers per hour, the time is going to take 1 hour. But if the speed of the car decreases to 120 kilometers per hour, it's going to take 2 hours. If the speed decreases to 80 kilometers per hour, it's going to take 3 hours, and so on. So from the table, we deduce that as the time increases, the speed of the car decreases, or as the speed decreases, the time it takes the car to get to where it's going to increases. So when the time increases from 1 hour to 2 hours, the speed decreases from 240 kilometers per hour to 120 kilometers per hour. So we want to see the relationship between the time and the speed now. And for us to see that relationship, we are going to compare the ratio of two of the times and their corresponding speeds. That is, we want to take from 1 hour to the increment of time from 1 hour to 2 hours, which is corresponding to the decrement of speed from 240 kilometers per hour to 120 kilometers per hour. So for the time, the ratio of the time, that is, the time is increasing from 1 hour to 2 hours. So that's going to be 1 hour ratio 2 hours, which is what? 1 ratio 2, which is 1 divided by 2. And for speed is 240 kilometers per hour ratio 120 kilometers per hour, which is 240 ratio 120. This is 2 ratio 1. So from here, we can see that the ratio of time, which is half, is equals to what? The reciprocal of the ratio of speed. You should know what reciprocal is from the last lesson one, so that the reciprocal of the number is equals to 1 divided by that number. So what is the ratio of speed? The ratio of speed is 2, and the ratio of time is half. So we can see that the ratio of time, which is half, is equals to reciprocal of ratio of speed, which is what? 1 over ratio of speed, which is 2. So that this is the relationship between the time and speed of that particular car, which is what happens to quantities that are in indirect proportion. The ratio of one quantity will be the reciprocal of the ratio of the other quantity. So here, the ratio of the time equals the reciprocal of the ratio of the corresponding speed, or vice versa. So now you can see that the speed is inversely or indirectly proportional to the time. Either you say inversely proportional or you say indirectly proportional, and it is usually written in the same way as that of direct proportion. You write time is inversely or indirectly proportional to the speed. And when we are dealing with direct proportion, whenever you have this statement, it changes to T equals to your constant of proportionality multiplied by the other quantity, which is S here. But when it comes to indirect proportion, it's going to be T equals to your constant of proportionality, which is k, multiplied by, you know that we say that the ratio of time is what equals to the reciprocal of the ratio of speed. So that is why we have 1, the constant of proportionality multiplied by the reciprocal of speed, which is 1 over s, and k multiplied by 1 over s will give k over s. So this is the relationship of quantities that are in indirect proportion, and here your k is the constant of proportionality. And you know, in direct proportion, whenever you are given a question, the first thing you do is to find relationship by obtaining the value for your constant of proportionality. Then it is that relationship that you will use in solving other problems. So the first problem, in the first example, we are told that 15 boys can cut the grass on a field in 12 days. How many days will it take the following number of boys? The first thing is for you to know the constant of proportionality, and that will be the relationship between the number of boys and the number of days. Then after that, you will find the number of days to take 9 boys. Know that it's going to take 9 boys a greater day. It's going to take 9 boys more days than 15 boys, but it's going to take 45 boys lesser days than 15 boys. So that's that. We're told that for that particular field, how many boys can cut the grass on the football field for 90 days, and those that can cut it for 18 days. Now, second question says a car travels at a speed of 175 km per hour in 3.5 hours. How long will it take the car to travel 100 km per hour, and what will be the speed of that car at the end of 7.5 hours? We're also told that a bus travels a distance of 180 km. That is the distance. But we were given a table that shows the speed and time it takes. So we have to obtain the time it takes for the time it takes for the car to complete that distance of 180 km if it has a speed of 45 km per hour, 36 km per hour, and 18 km per hour. And after that, we have to obtain the reciprocal of time for each speed. So after the second part of the question says that we should find the time taken if the bus travel at a speed of 40 km per hour, and we should find the speed of the bus that corresponds to a time of 6 hours. These are simple questions. So we now will move to the solution of this question. The first question says 15 boys can cut the grass on a football field in 12 days. We can see that we have number of boys and number of days. So the first thing we do is that instead of us to be writing a lengthier statement, number of boys, number of days, and repeating it every time, we can just represent it with a variable. Here we choose to represent the number of boys with capital B, and we choose to represent the number of days with capital D. So we know that the number of boys is indirectly proportional to the number of days, or the number of days is indirectly proportional to the number of boys. So you can choose any. Either you say B is inversely proportional or indirectly proportional to D, or D is inversely or indirectly proportional to B. You can choose any one. But here we say number of boys, which is B, is inversely or indirectly proportional to D. And you know it's going to change to what? B equals the constant of proportionality divided by the number of days. So from the question, we were told that 15 boys, that is the number of boys is 15, can finish that particular work in 12 days. And then the number of days is 12. So we substitute B equals 15 and D equals 12 here. We have 15 equals K over 12. K, we cross multiply. 15 multiplied by 12 is 180. So K is 180. So we now substitute the value of K into this. So we have the relationship between that number of boys and number of days will be what? B equals 180 over D. So this is the relationship. So that is tagged as the first equation. So you solve other questions from this. The first question says, from the question, we were told that how many days will it take 9 boys to complete that same job? We were given the number of boys, but we are to obtain the number of days it's going to take that particular number of boys to complete that same job. the value of B is given as 9 and we don't know the value of D, which is the number of days, so we have to obtain it. So we take it from, we go back to the relationship. You know, the relationship says B equals 180 divided by D, which is number of boys equals 180 divided by number of days. What is the number of boys here? 9. 9 equals 180 over D. We cross multiply. We multiply the denominator here with the numerator here, which is equals to multiplying the numerator here with the denominator here. So 9 multiplied by D equals 180 multiplied by 1, which is 180. Since we are to obtain the number of days alone, not 9 multiplied by the number of days, so we divide both sides by 9. So we divide this side by 9, we are left with D. If we divide this side by 9, we have 20. So it will take 9 boys 20 days to cut the grass on the football field. So 15 boys to take 12 days. You can see that as the boy decreases, the number of boys decreases from 15 to 9, the number of days increases from 12 to 20. So you can see from that those two quantities are in indirect proportion. Also, we were told that what will happen if the number of boys increases from 15 to 45? How many days will it take those 45 boys to cut that same grass, cut the grass on that same football field? So we'll also go back to relationship from 1. This is the relationship. Number of boys equals to 180 divided by number of days. And number of boys here is 45. We are to obtain the number of days. 45 equals to 180 over D. We cross multiply like we did in the first question. 45 multiplied by D equals 180. We divide both sides by 45. We divide both sides by 45. So if you divide this side by 45, we are left with D, which is equals to 180 divided by 45 is 4. So it will take 45 boys 4 days to cut the grass on the football field. You can see that as the number of boys increases from 15 to 45, the number of days decreases from 12 to 4. So that's that on that. We move to the second part. We are told that how many boys can cut the grass in 90 days. Here the number of boys is not given, but we are given the number of days to be 90. So we also go back to relationship, which is B equals to 180 over D. That's going to be, we are giving the value for D to be 90, so B will be 180 divided by 90, which is 2. So it will take just 2 boys to cut the grass on the field in 90 days. We can see that as the number of days increases, the number of boys what decreases. The number of days increases from 12 to 90, and the number of boys decreases from 15 to 2. So we can say that the higher the boys, the lesser the days it takes to cut the grass on the football field. So now we move to the next question, that how many boys will be able to cut the grass on the field in 18 days? So we'll also go back to relationship. Our D is 18 because we are giving number of days, but we are not giving number of boys. We are to obtain the number of boys that can cut the grass on the football field in 18 days. So from 1, we have B equals to 180 over D. What is the value for B? It's unknown, which is equals to what? 180 over D. 180, D here is 18. 180 divided by 18 is 10. So it will take 10 boys to cut the grass on the field in 18 days. We can see that as the number of days increases, the number of boys decreases from 15 to 10. So that is that on that particular question. Now we move to the second question. In the second question, we were told that a particular car travels at a speed of 175 km per hour and it uses 3.5 hours. So the first thing you do is to obtain the relationship between the speed and time. Here we know that it's either the speed is indirectly proportional to the time, or the time is indirectly proportional to the speed. You can use any of the two, but here we choose to use the statement the speed is indirectly proportional to the time. So here we use S to represent the speed and T to represent the time. So S is inversely proportional to the time, and you know that this is going to change to X over constant of proportionality divided by the time. So from the question, the speed is 175 km per hour and the time is 3.5, or when you change this to improper fraction, it's going to be 7/2 hours. So substitute this value into this. We have 175 equals to k over 7 over 2. We cross multiply. The denominator here will multiply the numerator here, and the denominator here will multiply the numerator here. So that's 175 multiplied by 7 over 2 equals k multiplied by 1, which is k. So k will be equals to 175 multiplied by 7 over 2, which will give 1225 over 2. That's the value for k. So you substitute the value for k back into the relationship here. So that's going to be what? S equals 1225 over 2, everything over t. And that's the relationship between the speed and time of this particular question. So we're asked to obtain the time it will take the car if it's traveled at a speed of 100 km per hour. So here we were given the value for speed to be 100 km per hour. So and we are asked to obtain the time. So from this relationship, from the relationship, S equals to 1225 over 2, everything divided by t. S is 100, we have 100 equals 1225 over 2, everything over t. So we cross multiply. This is how to cross multiply. The denominator will multiply the numerator here equals the denominator here multiplying the numerator here. So we have 100 multiplied by t equals 1225 over 2 multiplied by 1, which is 1225 over 2. So for us to obtain the value of t alone, we divide both sides by 100. So we divide this by 100, we are left with t. And if we divide this by 100, we have 1225 over 2 divided by 100, which will be 1225 over 2 multiplied by 1 over 100, which will be 1225 over 200, and that is going to give us 49 over 8. Or you change it to improper fraction, which is 6/1 over 8 hours. So it will take 6/1 over 8 hours to travel a distance of 100 km per hour. We can see that the lesser the speed, the higher the time, and that solves the first question. So the second question says, what will be the speed of the car at the end of 7.5 hours? So here the speed is unknown, but we are given that the time is 7.5 hours. So we also go back to relationship, which is what? S equals 1225 over 2, everything divided by t, and we are given the time to be 7.5, which is also 15 over 2 when changed to improper fraction. So S will be 1225 over 2 divided by 15 over 2, which will be what? If we should do this, we have 1225 over 2 divided by 15 over 2, which will be 1225 over 2 multiplied by 2 over 15, which is saying 1225 divided by 15. So this is going to give 81 over 10 over 15, or you change this to its lowest term, 5 here 2, 5 here 3, 81 over 2 over 3 km per hour. So the car can travel at a speed of 81 over 2 over 3 km per hour in 7.5 hours. So that solves the second question. Now we move to the third question. In that third question, so the third question says a bus travels a distance of 180 km, but we are given a table that in 2 hours the bus can travel at a speed of 90 km per hour. So how many hours did it take it to travel at a speed of 45 km per hour, 36 km per hour, and 18 km per hour? So the first thing you do is to find the relationship. So we said let S represent the speed and T represent the time. Here we can see that for the bus to travel at a speed of 90 km per hour in 2 hours, it means that it's going to travel a speed of 180 km per hour in 1 hour. But here we use the information in the first column of the table to obtain its relationship. So here from the table we have when the speed is 90, the time is 2 hours. So here we substitute the value of speed to be 90 and time to be 2. So we have k to be 180. Assuming we use that of 22.5, we substitute the value of S to be 22.5 and the value of t to be 8 here. You know that the corresponding time for a speed of 22.5 in that table is 8. So 22.5 multiplied by 8 will also give 180. So our k is 180, and then you substitute the value of k here. The relationship is what? S equals 180 over t. So we have two jobs in that table. The first thing is to find the corresponding time to the corresponding speed of 45 km per hour, 36 km per hour, and 18 km per hour, and also to find the reciprocal of time for each speed. So we'll do the first we will answer the first one by obtaining the corresponding time for the speed 45 km per hour, 36 km per hour, and 18 km per hour. Then after that, we'll now find the reciprocal of time for each speed. So the first one is to obtain the time the car is going to use at a speed of 45 km per hour. Here we're given the value for s, which is the speed, to be 45, and we don't know the time. So we go back to relationship s equals 180 over t. Yes, here is 45, so we have 45 equals 180 over t. You know, we cross multiply. 45 multiplied by t equals 180 multiplied by 1, which is 180. So to obtain the value of t, we divide both sides by 40. So if this side is divided by 45, you are left with t, and if you divide this side by 45, you are left with 4. So it will take 4 hours. The car will take 4 hours when it is at a speed of 45 km per hour. So the next one is for 36 km per hour. X is 36 and t is unknown. So we do the same thing you do for the first question. S equals to 180 over t. X here is 36. Cross multiply. 36 multiplied by t equals 180. You divide both sides by 36. The 36 divided by, if you divide 36 here, you are left with t, and 180 divided by 36 is 5. So the time it takes the car to complete the journey at a speed of 36 km per hour is 5 hours. So we do the same thing for 18 km per hour. Here you know your speed is 18 and your time is unknown. You substitute the value of speed 18 here equals 180. We cross multiply. So 18 multiplied by t equals 180. You divide both sides by 18 and you are left with the value t equals 10. So it takes 10 hours for the car to complete the journey at a speed of 18 km per hour. So now you know that for 90 km per hour, the car spends 2 hours. For 45 km per hour, the car spends 4 hours. You can see that as the speed is decreasing, the time is increasing. If the car spends 36 km, if the car is running at a speed of 36 km per hour, it's going to spend 5 hours. If it is running at a speed of 22.5 km per hour, it's going to spend 8 hours. And if it is running at a speed of 18 km per hour, it's going to spend 10 hours. Now, you know the time for each speed. Now we'll look for the reciprocal of each time, which is what? 1 over t. So for when the speed is 90, we know that the time is 2 hours, and the reciprocal of time, which is 1 over t, is 1 over 2, which is 0.5. When the speed is 45 km per hour, the car is going to spend 4 hours, and the reciprocal is 1 over 4, which is 0.25. When the speed is 36 km per hour, t is 5, and the reciprocal of time, which is 1 over t, 1 over 5 equals 0.2. When the time is 22.5, t is 8. Reciprocal 1 over t equals 1 over 8, which is 0.125. And when the speed is 18 km per hour, it's going to spend 10 hours. And the reciprocal of time is 1 over t, which is 1 over 10, that's 0.1. So this is the table. At 90 km per hour, the car is going to use 2 hours, and the reciprocal is 0.5, which is 1 over 2. For 45 km per hour, we have 4 hours, 0.25. 36 km per hour, 5 hours, 1 divided by 5 is 0.2. To 22.5 km per hour, it spends 8 hours, and 1 over 8 is 0.125. And for 18 km per hour, it spends 10 hours, and the reciprocal of time is 0.1. So the second question says, how long will it take the car to travel at a speed of 40 km per hour? from that questions we know that our time is not given, but we're given that the car is at a speed of 40 kilometers per hour. So we go to the relationship, and that relationship is what? S equals to 180 over t, which is third equation. So S is 40, and we don't know the value for t, so we leave it. We cross multiply. 40 multiplied by t equals 180 multiplied by 1, which is 180. We divide through by 40 since we have to obtain the value of t, which is the number of hours it takes the car to run at a speed of 40 kilometers per hour. So if we divide this side by 40, we are left with t. If we divide this side by 40, we have 6.5. So the time taken for a speed of 40 kilometers per hour is what? 6.5 hours. You can see that as the time decreases, as the speed decreases from 45 here to 40, the time also increases from 4 hours to what? 6. I'm sorry, 180 divided by 40 is 4.5, not 6.5. So we can see that as the speed decreases from 45 kilometers per hour to 40 kilometers per hour, the time increases from 4 hours to 4.5 hours. So we can say that also shows the indirect proportionality. So we also told that what speed will correspond to 6 hours. That's another aspect, another way of asking the question, that says what will be the speed if the car completes the journey in 6 hours. So what would be the speed of that particular car? We also use the relationship from the third equation, which is S equals 180 over t. I know we are given the value of t to be 6, S to be 180 over 6. So B will be what? So x will be 180 over t, so x will be equal to 30. Therefore, the speed corresponding to 6 hours is 30. That is, if the car is running at a speed of 30 kilometers per hour, it's going to use 6 hours. And that's the solution of the examples. Now you have exercises to solve, to check if you really understood what you have been taught. So this is like the first example given, the exercise is first. So you have to find the number of days it's going to take 12 boys to complete the same job, and number of days it's going to take 18 boys. Second one says you should now find the number of boys that can complete the work in 30 days and 10 days. So Kadri traveled the distance of this. We have to find how long it will take him if he walks at the distance of this, if he rides a bike at the distance of this. This is the simplest of all questions. It's just thinking. So here we're told that 10 laborers can complete a piece of work in 15 days. How long will it take 12 laborers to complete the job working at the same rate? So this is just like the third question of the example. So you just try, you obtain the speed of the car if it travels in 1.5 hours, and the speed of the car if it travels in 2.5 hours. So that is that on indirect proportion, and this will be the end of the topic proportion. So in the next video we move to a new topic, which is simple interest. So we'll talk about simple interest in the next video with sample questions and solutions. Thanks.